Make sure your phone's on vibrate. And are you know, you running or he running? Okay, so we on.
Our Father which art in heaven.
Our Father which art in heaven.
Hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done in earth.
Thy will be done in earth.
As it is in heaven.
As it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread.
Give us this day our daily bread.
And forgive us our debts.
And forgive us our debts.
As we forgive our debtors.
As we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation.
And lead us not into temptation.
But deliver us from evil.
But deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom.
For thine is the kingdom.
And the power.
And the power.
And the glory.
And the glory.
Forever.
Forever.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
For he is good.
For he is good.
And his mercy endures forever.
And his mercy endures forever.
Praise the Lord God of Israel.
Praise the Lord God of Israel.
For he is good.
For he is good.
And his mercy endures forever.
And his mercy endures forever.
In Jesus' name we pray.
In Jesus' name we pray.
The Holy One of Israel.
The Holy One of Israel.
The King of Kings.
The King of Kings.
The Lord of Lords.
The Lord of Lords.
One true God.
The one true God.
There is no other.
There is no other.
Amen.
Amen.
Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. For his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of the water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. May the Lord add a blessing. I just read to you from Psalms Psalms chapter 1, verse 1 through 3. May the Lord add a blessing to read and hearing of his holy word. Amen.
In Jesus' name. Amen. I like definitely say blessed Sabbath and happy feast of unleavened bread. 7 days. The seventh and the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It actually ran on the weekly Sabbath. So, we're going to do 2 lessons here. And they ain't going to be too long. I mean, it look like it's long, but it ain't going to really be that long just because of the fact that, we got some physical food that we want to put in our bodies, but at the same time, we got to get the spiritual word inside of our mind. So, with that being said, we're going to jump right to the class. And again, blessed Sabbath to those that are tuning in and to those that are actually here physically. Title of the first lesson, class is on, can 2 walk together except they be agreed? And we're going to read that out of the scriptures in Amos chapter 3. That's going to be pretty much the first book that we actually go to pertaining to this lesson. And I mean, it's a common lesson. It's just like the title said. Can 2 walk together except they be agreed? The only way you can walk in this word and be peaceable in this life, y'all got to be on the same page. Even when it's dealing with marriage, even when it's dealing with homeboys, homegirls, you can have a homeboy to an extent at a distance, or a homegirl, or at an extent or a distance. But when you try to involve them as a close relationship, and they understand how you trying to walk according to the word of God, and they have no knowledge of God, y'all can bump heads. It could be issues. It can even quench your spirit. Because you understand the plan of God, but yet, a close friend of yours, they don't have a clue. So, pertaining to this class, 2 can't walk together. Except you have to agree. You have to have a common understanding pertaining to the word of God. And that's pretty much the way it is. And we're going to see throughout this class is that if two are walking contrary, we're going to have issues. So let's open up in Amos chapter 3, and let's pick it up at verse 1. Amos chapter 3 and verse 1. When you get it, go ahead and read it, bro.
Hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying,
Go ahead.
You only have I known of all the families of the earth.
Now we understand reading this is pertaining to the nation of Israel, but this now applies to those that are physical Israel, keeping the law, statutes, and commandments of God, as well as those that are spiritual Israel, grafted in. You know, but yeah, right now, as to what we're reading, yes, it does apply to the nation of Israel. Because the book just is, you know, God clearly said through the mouth of Amos, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. So all the families pertaining to all other nations and nationalities. Only Israel has God known. Go ahead.
Therefore, I will punish you for all of your iniquities.
So he's going to punish Israel for all his iniquities. You know, that's just like me teaching my son how to take care of the household with household duties. You know, clean up your room, take out the trash, or, you know, make sure things are in order. You know, now he invited a couple of his buddies over, and they wrecked the house. You know, the house is turned upside down. So I come home from work, and I see the house is in a mess. Like, I'm not finna chastise the neighbor's kids. No, I'm finna deal with my son. It's because he's the one who has been given instructions on how to run my household. So that's even pertaining to the nation of Israel, as we see it right here in this second verse. How the Lord is saying, I will punish you for all your iniquities. Why? It's because I gave you the law, statutes, and commandments. I made the covenant with your forefathers in the wilderness. So you know what? When you slip up, I'm going to bust your head pertaining to the other nations, because what? They don't know any better. What verse 3 say though, bro?
Can two walk together except they be agreed?
No, they can't. We'll just let that cat right out the bag. Two can't walk together except they be agreed. And we're going to see why. Let's go over to Psalm 28 real quick. This points all the way, it even coincides with the next lesson. You know, Feast of Unleavened Bread. I mean, because you got to understand is, yeah, of course, you know, the scriptures do say we are a light into the world. So let our light so shine before men that they may glorify the Father, pertaining to our good works. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you got to be in company of, you know, whoremongers or people who like to, you know, commit adultery or lie, steal, cheat, or killers. That don't mean you got to keep company with them. But you do need to let your light so shine so that, you know, when your coworkers see you at work, you understand that, hey, I mean, this guy, he ain't like he used to be a year ago. You know, so something that he's doing is kind of curious as to me as to like what he's actually got going on. So you letting your light shine, but, you know, if they got, you know, orgy parties going on every other weekend and they inviting you out, like, nah, you ain't got to partake in that. You ain't got to go to the party and let your light so shine, nah. Because that could lead you into something else, temptation. So, you know, pertaining to what we read and we're going to see is that separate yourself from evildoers, because what? They could dim your light. But you're also going to let your light continue to shine. But you don't have to be in company with those that are contrary to the word of God. So let's look at this Psalm 28. This Psalms 28. And let's pick it up at verse 3. Psalms 28 and verse 3. When you get it, go ahead and read it, bro.
Draw me not away with the wicked.
So the Lord is clearly speaking through the mouth of David, letting you right out the gate, hey, don't draw me away with the wicked. In other words, when you punish the wicked, man, don't mix me in with that. So don't draw me not away with the wicked. Go ahead.
And with the workers of iniquity.
Keep reading.
Which speak peace to their neighbors, but mischief is in their heart.
So mischief is in their heart. They putting on a good front. You know, they speaking peace to their neighbors. But you know, on the back end, or when you see them down the street or around the corner, they ain't dealing with nothing but mischief. Because that's what's really in their heart. That's what's really their natural mindset or their natural DNA. But we see right here, it's saying what? Don't draw me away with the wicked and with the workers of iniquity. What does it say in verse 4?
Give them according to their deed.
Go ahead.
And according to their wickedness of their endeavors.
Keep reading.
Give them after the work of their hands and render them to their
desert. So in other words, like if they like wickedness, that's what they're going to have on the platter. That's pretty much all they're going to get. That's what the Lord said. What in Jeremiah chapter 17, he said the heart is desperately wicked. Who can know it? He give what? The fruit unto those of their doing. Meaning like if you like to kill, hey, he's going to give it to you. You know, if you like to walk in righteousness, then that's what you're going to deal with. But we see right here, the Lord is clearly separated, letting you know that, hey, he is going to render unto the wicked, you know, their desert. Practically what they like to do. They like to kill. Guess what? The Lord is going to render that unto them. Let's go over to this Proverbs 24 real quick. Proverbs 24, and let's pick it up at verse 1. Proverbs 24. Well, you know what? Oh, I have. Proverbs 24. And let's pick it up at verse 1. When you get it, go ahead and prophesy, brother.
Be not thou envious against evil men.
Go ahead.
Neither desire to be with them.
You see that? Don't like desire to be with them. You know, it's telling you clearly what? Be not envious against evil, man. You know what I mean? Like if somebody go through, you know, like what happened down here in South Florida. You know, dude went through the school and just killed up, what, 17 people? Like, don't be envious of that. You know what I mean? Because what? God is going to render to him his desert. That's what we saw in the last book. We just saw that in what? Psalms 28. The Lord going to render that unto him. So in other words, like, don't be envious of that, but at the same time, don't keep company with it as well. That's what we see. What he says, neither desire to be with them. Go ahead, verse 2.
For their heart studieth destruction.
So that's all on their mind. You know, they studying destruction. That's like they every day wake up like, you know, a cup of coffee. You know, they waking up to a cup of coffee, but what? In other words, they waking up to killing on their mind. Or they waking up to sleeping with another man's wife. They waking up to doing contrary to what thus say the Lord. That's they studying. Keep going.
And their lips talk of mischief.
And their lips talk mischief. Go ahead, verse 3. I'm sorry, skip down to verse 9 and read that.
The thought of foolishness is seen.
You see that? Like even your thoughts, you guys, y'all got to realize that even with inside of your thinking cap, it can sometimes veer off far left or far right. But you got to realize, like, that's foolishness unto God, and that's considered to be sin. You know, if you sitting up here just thinking about, hey, man, you know, that brother wife sure look nice. I ain't going to talk to him. Like, that's foolishness. You know, if you actually thinking about, you know, plotting to rob a bank, I mean, of course you got to go through with the act, but even the thought of it is foolishness. But then what it says, it's sin. Keep reading though.
And the scorner is an abomination to men.
And a scorner is somebody who don't want to do nothing that God gives you to do. You know, they completely trying to rebuke you when you bringing them the truth. They don't want to hear nothing you got to say. That's a scorner. That's why the Lord said, don't even rebuke them. Don't even try to bring them the word, because all they're going to do is try to combat. They ain't going to try to receive it. So the Lord said, don't even deal with them in other places in the Bible. But the book just said what? They are an abomination unto men. Let's go over to this Proverbs 22 real quick. 2 books back. Proverbs 22. And let's pick it up at verse 24. Proverbs 22 and verse 24. When you get it, go ahead and read it, bro.
Make no friendship with an angry man.
Go ahead.
And with the furious man, thou shalt not go.
So don't make no friendship with an angry man. You know, because even in the scripture, it says anger rests in the bosom of a fool. You know, that's what the scriptures say. So if you angry all day long and that's always on your mindset, like, you don't want to keep company with that. You know, if you got somebody always bickering, like Brother Elijah taught a class a couple of Sabbaths ago about, you know, about, what was he saying? About, I forgot the class, but in other words, you sitting here and you got an issue with somebody, but you ain't bringing it to them. You just sitting up talking to this brother about it. You know what I mean? But yet you ain't taking it to him. So is anything getting resolved? Nah, because you ain't bringing it to his attention. Y'all just sitting up talking about it. Nah, the way you get it resolved is you take it to that individual. But right here we see is that what? In verse 22, what are we at? Verse 22 and verse 24, it says, make no friendship with an angry man. And with a furious man, thou shalt not go. So, you know, you don't want to sit there and entertain that. Yeah, man, you know, we should, you know. But, man, I can't stand the way he... Nah, you don't want to even deal with that. But keep reading, though, verse 25.
Lest thou learn his way.
Exactly. This is why you don't want to make friendship with an angry man, because guess what? He's going to rub off on you. You know what I mean? Now you're going to be walking in his way. Now you're going to be just like him, a mimic of him. You know, because that's what takes, you know, you always hear the saying, what? Misery like company. They like that. Because why? Now they can vent to you all their miserable issues they've been dealing with. Now they got you thinking like, well, dang, I ain't even really look at it like this. Now you miserable. Now you taking their same misery back to your household. Now you affecting your whole household with another person's misery. You see how that works? So it says right here in verse 25, it says, lest thou learn his ways, and what else?
And get a snare to thyself.
So it's a snare to you. It's a trap. It's a setup. Because now, you know, you was doing this, abiding the laws of God, keeping his commandments. Now, look what you're doing. Oh, man, they ain't even reading the other books according to, you know, the Apocrypha and the book of Enoch. Like, they ain't even reading them no more. But, shoot, this brother right here, man, he always studying it. He's so well learned. Nah, little do he know, it's a snare for you, man. That's what it is. Well, what else is that? Is that it on that? Let's go to 1 Corinthians real quick. 1 Corinthians chapter 15. So you got to understand, man, you know, when we abide in this flesh and blood body, we're going to see in the next class, is that as we abide in this flesh and blood body, you know, pointing to the feast of unleavened bread, we're abiding in this body for 7 days of 7,000 years. You know, that's what it's all pointing to. The next class is. But even as we abide in this body, we got to make sure that, you know, we stay tuned with God. Because you got to realize you got Satan and his ministers out there. You know, you got Satan on his job. And his objective is to get you to fall. That's his objective. So as we walk, and we got to realize, you know, is that good company to be kept with? You know what I mean? Like, do I really want to invite this individual over to my house? You know, if I'm trying to bring him the word, do I really need to bring him in my home? I could just meet him somewhere, you know, and then we could cut ways at that point. I ain't got to extend a friendship or a relationship. You know, the book does say be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove, you know, when you bringing people into the word of God. But that don't necessarily mean you got to be at their house every other weekend. Nah, you don't have to. You can deal with individuals from a distance. So we see is that, you know, in the proverb, letting you know is that, man, don't make friends with somebody angry, because guess what? You can learn their ways and it can lead you to a snap. So let's look at this 1 Corinthians real quick. 1 Corinthians 15, and we're going to read 2 verses here. 1 Corinthians 15, and pick it up at verse 33. You get it? Go ahead and read it, brother.
Be not deceived.
Go ahead.
Evil communications corrupt good manners.
That's a true statement. Paul is clearly letting you know is that what? Hey, man, don't be deceived. Don't be tricked now. Because guess what? Evil communication does corrupt good manners. You know what I mean? Like you sitting up at one of your old buddies from high school, and like all what's on his mind is pornographic images. That's what's all on his mind. You know what I mean? Now he pulling out his Rolodex of his videos, and now y'all popping them in. Now look at you. You a part of his, you're a part of his delusion. Because that's all on his mind. So now he don't got you involved in the midst of it. Now it has corrupt your good manners. So this is why you got to be wise about, who you involve yourself with. Like it ain't nothing, like I said, it ain't nothing wrong. Like me, I got buddies back at home. I'm from Tallahassee. So I got buddies back at home that I socialize with, but it's clearly from a distance. Like I come in town, I have my family with me, and we'll probably ride by and I'll be like, what's up, bro? It's been a long time. Good to see you. This is my wife and kids. See that you're doing pretty good. All right, man, I'm down at my mom's house. I'll get with you. That's it. You know what I mean? It ain't no, hey, man, what time the game come on? You want to go to the store and grab some business? You want to do this? No, it ain't none of that. Now, it's nothing wrong if you want to do that. That's fine. That's your prerogative. But at the same time, that can corrupt your good manners. But what it said in verse 34, though?
Awake to righteousness.
Go ahead.
And sin not.
Exactly. So you need to awake to righteousness and sin not. Go ahead.
For some have not the knowledge of God.
Exactly. Everybody don't have knowledge of God. The ones that you keep company with and they don't understand, like the scriptures, they don't have that knowledge. So in other words, they're going to be doing stuff contrary because what? They dealing with Satan. So everything that they think they might be doing, they think is right. But in the eyes of God, it's not. So that's why Paul is clearly saying what? Awake to righteousness and sin not. For some have not the knowledge of God. Go ahead.
I speak this to your shame.
To your shame. Let's go into the 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. That's your word right now. That's mine. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. Oh, it might be Tony, but too late now. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. And let's pick it up at verse 14. 2 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 14. You get it? Go ahead, bro.
Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelief.
So be ye not unequally yoked. You see that? Like, equal means pretty much like it's almost perfect. But it says unequally. So unequally yoked, and it also says with unbelievers. So in other words, like, don't be on the same level. Keep reading though.
For what fellowship has righteousness with unrighteousness?
There is no fellowship. Like, I'm not finna go to a gay parade and try to like fellowship with, people who think that it's okay for another man to marry another man. Like, I'm not finna do that. Like, that's not my fellowship. Or I'm not finna go and, kick it with a couple of buddies of mine who think it's okay to, kill. Like, no, I'm not finna kick it with them. I mean, we could kick some book, but, my fellowship is what we doing right now. You know what I mean? Like, we fellowship and we sitting here gathered together on the Lord's Sabbath day and also it's high Sabbath, and we fellowship. We having a holy convocation. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to fellowship with those that have the same like mind. But you see, Paul is clearly saying, question, what fellowship have righteousness with unrighteousness? There is none. Keep reading though.
And what communion hath light with darkness?
Exactly. Like we supposed to be the light of the world. But then we understand is that, the whole world lies in darkness. So you got to understand is there's a difference. The world lies in darkness is because they're under the spirit of Satan. And the ones that are in the light are in the light of Christ. So that's why it's saying that, there's no communion with light and darkness. It's completely opposite. But what it says in verse 15 though.
And what accord has Christ with Belial?
So what concord has Christ with Belial? There's nothing. Belial is an idol. Christ is the one that died in the midst of the week, and he resurrected on the third day, which was the Sabbath. That's our salvation. But Belial, that's just an image made by the hand of man. So in other words, like, there's no concord, or there's a difference between the two. But keep reading though.
Or what part has he that believeth with an infidel?
Go ahead, keep reading.
And what agreement hath the temple of God with idols? For ye are the temple of God, of the living God.
Go ahead.
As God hath said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people.
Exactly. So God is walking in us how? By reading his word. You know what I mean? So we got his word inside of us. So we understand is that, like, you know, we the temple of the true and living God, not the temple of no idols. No, that's not who we are. We're the temple of the true and living God. But what Paul telling us in verse 17 though?
Wherefore come out from among them.
You see that? Paul is clearly telling you to separate yourself, brothers and sisters. Come out from among them. See, Paul is just clearly letting you know is that, man, there is a difference. You know, there is a difference between, you know, those that are righteousness versus those that are unrighteous. You know, I will continue to say is that, yes, Jesus clearly told us to let our light so shine before the world. But we see that Paul clearly said in what, verse 14 is like, what fellowship have righteousness with unrighteousness? There is none. So now he's saying in verse 17, wherefore come out from among them. Go ahead.
And be ye separate.
Exactly. Separate yourself. Go ahead.
Saith the Lord.
Keep reading.
And touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you.
Let's go over here to this king real quick. First Kings. First Kings chapter 11. First Kings chapter 11. And let's pick it up at verse 1. We're going to just look at a little history and look at what took place with Solomon. You know, a lot of people always, you know, they want to get caught up in the fact that Solomon was dealing with 1,000 women. You know, he had 700 wives and 300 concubines. But God wasn't displeased with that. That's not what he was displeased about. This is what he was displeased about, what we're about to read. 1 Kings chapter 11 and verse 1. When you get it, go ahead and read it.
But King Solomon loved many strange women.
He loved many strange women. Go ahead. Go ahead, man.
Together with the daughter of Pharaoh.
Go ahead.
Women of the Moabites.
Keep reading.
The Ammonites. The Edomites. The Zidonians. The Zidonians.
Go ahead.
And Hittites.
See, these are other nations that we read. Solomon was married to other nationalities. That's why, you know, it says what? But King Solomon loved many strange women. What it say in verse 2 though?
Of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go into them.
Go ahead.
Neither shall they come unto you.
Keep reading.
For surely they will turn away your heart after their God.
See, the Lord clearly said is that way. They're going to turn your heart away and serve their gods. God didn't say, hey man, you don't need to have all the women because that's too many women for you to handle. Nah, he said they're going to turn your heart. See, that's the issue right there. You know, see, a lot of people are trying to come in and feel as if like, you know, oh, we ain't supposed to deal with other nations. Israel's supposed to be separated. Nah, God told Solomon to separate himself. It's because they was going to get him to turn his heart from serving the true and living God. But keep reading though, brother.
Solomon clave unto these in love.
See, he claved unto them in love. Go ahead.
And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines. And his wives turned away his heart.
You see that? See, even within your household, within your marriage. You know, I was listening to a talk show radio, And the talk show radio was pertaining to, you know, relationships. And what's a deal breaker for women pertaining to men or when they're inquiring on dating? And it was about religion. So a woman came on the radio and she was like, you know, I'm Christian and my husband is Muslim. And like, we cool. You know, we get along perfect. You know, he served his God, I serve my God. He don't try to force, you know, his way of worship on me. Neither do I with him. But in my mind, I was saying, when does man have kids? That's what I was saying in my mind. And the narrator asked that question. So do y'all have kids? Yes. Well, who are the kids going to serve? The woman clearly said, oh, they're going to be Christians. See, right there, that's the issue. That's the issue. That's the household divide. Because you got to realize, like what? The kids, when they start growing up, they're going to be like, man, you know what? My mom was dealing with this. My dad was dealing with that. Like, what's really the truth? So there is no agreement between the two. Even the kids can identify that. So even in the marriages, like we're looking at Solomon. They didn't walk together. Solomon's wives turned his heart from God. And that was the issue. So we see right here, it says what he had 1,000 women to deal with, but it says when it came to pass, what? His wives turned his heart away from God. What it say in verse 4?
For it came to pass that when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods.
Go ahead.
And his heart was not perfect with the Lord, his God, and was the heart of David, his father.
See, his heart was like his father David. But you see what it said? It emphasized on his heart was not perfect with the Lord, his God. You see, Solomon, like, that was the God of Israel. That was Solomon's God. That was the God that gave Solomon all this wisdom to put inside of this Bible. Ecclesiastes, Proverbs, Songs of Solomon. You know, and yes. So in other words, like God is the one that gave him all of that wisdom. But yet, his heart got turned from God. Because his household, they weren't walking together. But what it say in verse 5 though?
But Solomon went after Ashtoreth,
Go ahead.
the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites.
So these are just other guys that, you know, Solomon would serve, building groves. So let's go over to this Matthew 13 real quick. Matthew chapter 13. And let's look at this parable that, you know, Jesus gave the disciples. See, even Jesus said in what? That Matthew chapter 7. He said what? Broad is the gate that leads to destruction. Then he said straight is the path that leads you to life or everlasting life. See, even Jesus, what? Separate the two. There's a broad gate that everybody goes down, or they went down last Sunday, or whatever Easter was. Then so forth and so forth, pertaining to, you know, Sunday service, pertaining to what? Seventh-day Adventists. They in the broad gate as well. Because they just keeping the commandment, which is keep the Sabbath day. That's great. That's a great starter, but you got to keep today as well, which is the 7th day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You had to keep the Passover also. You had to keep the first day of Unleavened Bread. You had to keep Pentecost. Because we're going to read that in the next class in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. But the point is that they all going down a broad gate. And what we trying to do in here is we trying to maintain this straight gate that's going to lead us unto life. So let's look at this Matthew chapter 13 and verse 24. Let's check out this parable that Jesus gave his disciples. Matthew chapter 13 and 24. When you get it, go ahead and read it, bro.
But when the Pharisees heard it,
Matthew 13 and 24. We're ready to eat. Oh, he ready. He ready to eat. I'm ready to eat too.
All right.
I need to stop all the talking. Go ahead, bro. Matthew 13 and 24. Go ahead.
Another parable he put forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field.
Go ahead.
But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way.
Keep reading.
But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also.
Mm-hmm.
So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field?
Go ahead.
From whence then hath it tares?
So you sow good seeds in the field. Why we got tares? Why we got weeds? You know, you sow good seeds in the field. I see tares. I see weeds. What does it say in verse 28 though?
He said unto them, an enemy hath done this.
An enemy has done this. Go ahead.
The servant said unto him, wilt thou then that we go and gather them up?
Check out what he said in verse 29. Go ahead.
But he said, nay.
He said, no. Go ahead.
Lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them.
So you're gonna root up the wheat as well. You try to go and pull up the tares, man, you're gonna pull the wheat up at the same time. So we just gonna do what it's saying in the next verse, verse 30.
Let both grow together until the harvest.
So just let them grow until harvest. Don't pull up the tares. Just let the tares and the wheat grow together. Jesus is going to clearly break down this parable because I'm going to let him do it. Because it's very clear as to, how he's liking these tares and wheats to. It's pointing to us as individuals. But keep reading though.
And in the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together the first the tares, and bind them in bundles and burn them, but gather the wheat into thy barn.
Gather the wheat into thy barn. Skip down to verse 36 and read that.
Then Jesus sent the multitude away and went into the house, and his disciples came unto him, saying, declare to us the parable of the tares of the field.
So here's your answer, verse 37.
He answered and said unto them, he that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man.
So the Son of Man, we talking about Jesus. So it says what? He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. So Jesus is the one that's sowing this good seed. What's the good seed, brother? Verse 38.
The field is the world.
So the field where the seeds were sown at, that's the world. Go ahead.
The good seed are the children of the kingdom.
So the good seed are the children of the kingdom, you guys. Keep reading though.
But the tares are the children of the wicked one.
Now the tares are the children of the wicked one, of Satan. But what is that in verse 39?
The enemy that sowed them is the devil.
Exactly. See, the devil is the one that sowed these tares. So we got the field being the world. We got the wheat being the good seed of the seed of God. Then we got the tares being the seed of the devil. But the devil is the one that sowed these tares. See, you got to understand is that, people are placed around us for reasons, you guys. You know what I mean? And sometimes those reasons can be for the good, and sometimes they can be for the worse. Sometimes individuals can be placed around you just to get you to fall. They truly can. I can testify to that. People can be set up in your life just to get you to fall off your square. And then people can be in your life just to encourage you to keep grinding in the Word of God. But you got to notice it. And if you don't notice it, then you can get caught off and become a terror. So we see Satan, right? Satan is the one that planted these tares. Keep reading though.
The harvest is the end of the world.
See, the harvest is the end of the world. See, that's why Jesus said, guess what? Nah, let them grow together. Because guess what? If I pull the tares up right now, I'm going to pull up some of the wheat. So in other words, we just going to let it play all the way out its course. Because guess what? Some tares can become wheat, and some wheat can become tares. So we just gonna let it play its course, and at the end gathering, we're gonna gather it all up. And what else gonna take place?
And the reapers are the angels.
Go ahead.
As therefore the tares are gathered and burned.
Where you at, bro?
39.
39. Okay, go ahead.
Well, 40.
Okay, go ahead.
As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire,
Go ahead.
so shall it be in the end of this world.
You see that? So at the end of this world, like the angels, which are the reapers, they're gonna come and gather the tares and burn them in the fire. What we know is the lake of fire. But keep reading though.
The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all that offend and them that do iniquity.
So the Lord is gonna come and gather, the good seed. The seed that the Son of Man planted. That's who he's gonna return and gather. That's at the seventh trumpet. But let's go a little bit further. Let's go over to the last place. Let's go over to this no, read that last verse. I'm sorry, verse 42.
Yeah. And shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth.
So there'll be wailing and gnashing of teeth to the tares, the ones that was gathered up, thrown into the furnace. That's the lake of fire. That's what it was. Say what in verse 42? It shall cast them into the furnace of fire, and there shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Let's go over to Revelation chapter 18. Revelation chapter 18. And let's pick it up at verse 2. Revelation chapter 18 and verse 2. When you get it, go ahead and read it, bro.
And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen. Is fallen.
So we seeing Matthew what? We seeing Matthew 13 playing out right here in Revelation chapter 18. Because even what? In that Matthew 13, Jesus was saying what? The end of the world. He's going to gather the good seed, but the ones that are the tares, he's going to gather them and drop them in the lake of fire. That was at the end gathering. So we looking at the end right here in Revelation 18. We seeing now Babylon is falling, Babylon we know is Rome. That's the last and final nation that's running this system. So we seeing now that, a strong voice saying Babylon the Great is falling. Go ahead.
And is become the habitation of devil.
Go ahead.
And the hold of every foul spirit, and every cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
So of every hateful bird, the habitation of devils. That's Babylon. That's their habitation. That's where you get these different doctrines from. Babylon, which is Rome. They're the one that gave you Christmas, Easter, any pagan holidays you want to think of, they gave it to you. So we seeing that their system is falling. But what it say in verse 3 though?
For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
So all nations don't drunk this doctrine, brothers and sisters. All nations. They don't just celebrate Christmas here in the Western world, here in America. Man, they celebrate Christmas all over the world. So that's just letting you know is that the whole world has been deceived by Satan. But we see right here is like what? It says, for all nations have drunk the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And what else?
And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her.
Go ahead.
And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacy.
What does it say in verse 4 though?
And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people.
So come out of her, my people. Come out of Babylon. Come out of this system. Keep reading though.
That ye be not partakers of her sin.
Exactly. You don't want to be partakers of her sin. See, you can't be unequally yoked with Babylon. They doctrine. No, you can't be. Because this right here going to get you cut off from God. So that's why, the Lord is speaking through the mouth of John saying, hey, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins. Go ahead.
And that ye receive not of her plagues.
And you receive not of her plagues. So again, the title is, Can Two Walk Together Except They Be Agreed? I hope somebody got some understanding. We're we're gonna roll to the next one. But like I was telling Tony, is you know, I guess y'all ain't gonna run them together, are you?